2014 Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order. If you would, please stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time we'd like to introduce the board members starting on my left.
My name is Sumit Shah.
Todd Chernick. Christopher Bluer.
Gary Willis.
Walt Recook.
Jim Hilly.
We have some feedback going on. Counselor, is that you?
Well, mine's off, but it's really off.
We've been saying that about you for years. Yeah, it is, but
Do we have any adoption or amendments to the agenda? If not, we need to approve the April meeting minutes.
Actually, if you go ahead and take a motion to approve as it's written,
Okay.
that's the adoption portion of it.
We need a motion to approve the
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes as submitted. Or, I'm sorry, as the agenda as submitted.
A second.
We have a first and a second. Any discussion? All in favor of approval, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. It's for today. It passed unanimously.
We need help.
We need a motion to approve the April meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve the April meeting minutes as submitted.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Discussion? All in favor of approving the April meeting minutes, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign.
Abstain.
1, 2, 3, 4. We have 2 abstained. Jim and Chris. Yes, we do. We have 4. Our first variance is V14-006, 13 Providence Road, allowing accessory structure garage. Oh, hang on.
Yes, thanks.
The Board of Zoning Appeals is a quasi-legal board composed of resident volunteers of the city of Milton. The board is charged with hearing requests for variances from the standards of the zoning ordinance and appeals of administrative determination. Regarding decisions on primary variances, the board's basis for decisions provided by these 4 considerations. A, relief if granted would not offend the spirit or intent of the ordinance. B, there are such extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions pertaining to a particular piece of property that the liberal or strict application of the ordinance would create an unnecessary hardship due to size, shape, topography, or other extraordinary and exceptional situations or conditions not caused by the variance application. And C, relief if granted would not cause substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties. And D, the public safety, health, and welfare are secured and a substantial justice is done. V14-006, Angela, will you please present?
Yes, sir. And that's the revised site plan that I'm passing out there. At the site, 13895 Hopewell Road is a single-family home on 8.28 acres. The property...
Is this Hopewell Road or Providence Road? This is Providence.
Did I not fix that? 13460 Providence Road. Okay, the site, 13460 Providence Road, is a single-family home on 8.28 acres. The property, a former horse farm, is located in the northwest Fulton overlay and is zoned AG1. The property includes several paddocks, a garage, and a barn. The applicant, Mr. Kroon, proposes to build a 60 feet by 40 feet metal garage warehouse with roll-up doors in the front of his property. The structure will be approximately 164 feet from Providence Road. The building will be accessed via a gravel drive off the main existing drive. Mr. Kroon has already cleared the area for his proposed structure, and staff notes this work was done without a permit. Section 64-416-2I states that accessory structures are to be located in the rear or side yard. Since Mr. Kroon proposes to build a garage in front of his house, a variance is required. On March 4th, 2014, the DRB offered the following comments. The board feels that they cannot comment on the request without further information, including what the building will look like and an accurate site plan. Building plan review and DOT stormwater, no comments. Site plan review, we need to see a grading plan and erosion control plan showing the limits of disturbance. Arborist, recompense is required for the removed trees. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. The lot is completely built up since 1978 with horse stables, corrals, and other structures. Due to all of these, we do not have the opportunity to construct the garage warehouse without having to destroy and demolish another structure behind or on the side of the home to get access to the building with a car, truck, or tractor. The proposed location is in compliance with all other city ordinances, with the exception that it is not behind or on the side of the house. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Paint the structure to match the existing outbuildings. This concludes the staff presentation.
Any questions to staff from the board? Yes, sir.
Being in the northwest, is this in the northwest overlay? Are there any requirements architecturally that's going to be required of this structure?
No, not really, because it's an accessory structure to a single-family home. So roll-up doors can't face the street, but other than that, I mean, there's nothing against metal buildings. There's nothing about roof pitch or fenestration or anything like that. It's because of the fact this is an accessory structure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? At this time, we'd like to ask the applicant to please come forward and present. And if you would state your name and address to the board, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Good evening. My name is Victor Kroon. I'm residing at 13460 Providence Road. And, well, I asked the board to approve my application.
Any questions?
Any questions,
from the board
please?
To the applicant.
I guess my first question is, why did you pursue such a project without a building permit? Why did you feel you didn't need a building permit?
Well, I did apply for the permit, and I'm sorry. I mean, I did apply for the permit. I didn't expect that I'm going to have this hardship to get the permit, and I have a grading guy who is doing the grading there. He did, start without even my permission, because he said, "Oh, you're not going to have a problem," and he have his equipment there, and he just graded. I stopped it right away as soon as I realized it's going to be. I mean, I need a way to get the permit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Do you have any letters from any of your neighbors?
Well, no, I don't really have the neighbors, close to me. And one of my neighbor, he's a kind of agree, because I don't have another place to put it on my property. And if I put it in another place somehow, that's going to spoil his view and my view. And I mean, Angela and Mr. Jimmy Sanders, they visit my property also. And I mean, they have some, I guess they have some impressions that's really, the building, it's not going to look, I mean, I'm going to make it to any standard you decide me to make it look. And beside this, I got a picture of how it's going to look like. I mean, you maybe have it too there. And it's going to have gutters, and it's painted building. It's not ugly building. And besides this, the roll-up doors, they're not going to face any street. Only I'm going to see them when I'm going to pass in my driveway, which is pretty long driveway. And it's not going to spoil any view from the street. Or my neighbors, that's the best location for my neighbors not to see any building, structural building. Because it's kind of going to be a little bit down there from the day view. They're going to see just a green roof, maybe, which is going to blend with the forest. And
Yes, sir.
Sir, your front yard, it looks like on the map that we have, at least visually, that there's a pretty significant buffer of trees between where you want to place this structure and the street. Is that correct?
yes.
And can you tell me approximately how wide that strip of trees?
Well,
Approximately.
I mean, it's 160 feet from the street.
160?
Yes.
Okay.
How much of that is wood?
I mean, it's wooden. That's all. 160 feet is
Almost the entire
wooden.
portion is
That is all wooden there.
You're not going to see it from the street. And
You don't see a house on the street, you don't see that.
yeah, our house built, and you don't even see it from the street.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
At this time, we'd like to open the floor for any public comment, if there is any. Any questions from the board to either the applicant or staff? At this time, I'd like to close the public hearing, and the floor is open for a motion. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to approve V 14-006. This is to allow an accessory structure, a garage/warehouse in the front yard, with the recommended condition that the applicant paint the structure to match the existing outbuildings. And,
Reference the plan.
And also the applicant needs to submit a grading and erosion control plan showing the limits of disturbance. And if any, the third condition is, if any trees are removed between Providence Road and the building, the proposed location of the building, which already been cleared, if any trees are removed in addition, then a recompense plan will be required for any of the trees that are removed. According to site plan by Land Tech for Victor Kuhn, dated
Four 23, 214.
423.
4/23/14.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve V 14-006 to allow an accessory structure, a yard/warehouse in the front yard with the following conditions. 1, paint the structure to match the existing outbuildings. 2, submit a grading erosion control plan showing the limits of disturbance. And 3, recompense is required for the removed trees if the city requires it. And this is all done by site plan by Land Tech, dated 4/23/14. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. It passed unanimously. Good luck.
Good luck,
Good luck.
sir. Good luck.
Brings us to B 14-007 to allow
The site, 15185 Birmingham Highway, is a single-family home located on approximately 1.5 acres of property in the Three Oaks subdivision. It is zoned AG1. A stream forms the rear border of the lot. The applicants, James and Nicole Barfield, have proposed to build a 38 by 18-foot swimming pool, spa, and deck in their rear yard. The proposed pool will encroach into the 25-foot impervious setback and approximately 25 feet into the 50-foot stream buffer. They will be removing an old concrete patio, some grass, and a portion of a mulched playset area. 2 trees will be removed, but no other shrubs or plants will be affected. The Barfields have already installed berms and 2 dry creek beds to help direct water flow from the shared driveway and the side yard. There are currently also 4 box drains which direct water through a grate and into a pipe. The property owners state that without this variance, there is no real opportunity for a pool on the property. The proposed location is the best location on the property to minimize impact to the stream and yard. The side yard contains beautiful 100-year-old oaks. Placement in the back of the house is best for surrounding properties and the public good. Also, placement in the side yard is not possible due to the septic tank. Let me check one thing. So section 620-426 requires a pool and a pool deck fence to requires a 75-foot impervious setback and a 50-foot stream buffer. Since the Barfields are asking to encroach into both the 75-foot impervious setback and the 50-foot stream buffer, a variance is required. On April 2nd, 2014, the DRB offered the following comments. No issues with this request. Correct the site plan to show buffer beginning from the point of rested vegetation. The staff held a focus meeting on April 2nd, 2014, in which the following comments were provided. Building plan review, site plan review, the arborist, and DOT stormwater all had no comments. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. Placement of the pool in the back of the house is best for surrounding properties and the public good and would keep the pool from being visible from Birmingham Highway. If strict adherence to the minimum buffer requirements is abided by, there would be an extreme hardship on us as owners. There is no way to build a pool in the rear of the home without being located inside the buffer. We respect the spirit of the ordinance and have a plan to mitigate environmental impact with additional vegetation. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. Approval per the Barfield site plan, which needs to be, actually I'm going to scratch that because it needs to be amended. I'm going to change that to include the Barfield site plan shall be amended to show the buffer measured from the point of rested vegetation and that the Barfields should submit a mitigation plan. Final landscape plannings to be approved by the city arborist. And this concludes the staff presentation.
I have a question, Angela. The site plan that was submitted dated March 29th, 2014, does that accurately reflect the setbacks based on the rest of the vegetation or not?
No.
Okay. Are you aware if the applicants have an updated site plan?
I have not seen one. And I have some hard copies for you also.
Okay.
Angela, do we have any letters from neighbors? Pro, con?
Not that I'm aware of. Wait, take that back. 15175 Birmingham Highway, the CATs, they have submitted a letter stating that they have no objection.
Any other questions to staff?
What was that address again? 15, so it's next door neighbor.
15175, yes.
Any other questions for staff from the board? Yes, sir?
So the plan we're looking at is not a survey of the physical property. This is basically a floor plan that someone's taken and drawn dimensions from some site plan and put the house and the pool on it. Since it's not got a surveyor seal or point of reference on, is that correct?
I believe they constructed the plan from a survey, yes.
Any other questions? This time, we'd like to ask the applicant to please come forward and present. And if you state your name and address to the board, we'd certainly appreciate it.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Nicole Barfield. This is my husband, James. He goes by Chris, and we live at 15185 Birmingham Highway in Milton with our 3 children. And this is Chris from Neptune Pools, our pool representative, and they are at 1230 Peachtree Industrial Boulevard in Sugar Hill. The first thing I want to speak to is the site plan. When we met with the Design Review Board, we went back to the people that prepared the site plan for us. It was all off of our original plat when the home was constructed and platted. If you can see the 25-foot BL on the site plan, that's a 25-foot builder line. That's actually measured from the center of the stream, which the center of the stream is our property line. Coming back 4 feet from the 25 BL is the 25-foot buffer, which takes into account the rested vegetation. So there are 2 25-foot lines on the site plan that you have. One is from the center of the stream, which is the builder line, and one takes into account the vegetation. The stream in its entirety is 4 feet in width. It's so vegetated right now you can't even see it. So basically it's here, the banks come up, and then the rested vegetation starts immediately. So from the center of the stream to the rested vegetation at its widest point is only about 2.5 feet. And when we had it drawn, they drew it at 4 feet to give us enough clearance for the rested vegetation. Also, we just want to point out that in the plan, none of the pool or pool decking will be going into the 50-foot buffer or the 25-foot buffer. Only a portion of the pool, about 65%, would go into the impervious setback. But we have an existing concrete patio that we were actually hoping to use and take the pool off of. And when we realized where the buffers were, we decided to go ahead and work with our pool company to pull the pool as close to the house and out of the buffer to lessen impact. So we're actually having that concrete patio removed and the pool pulled in closer to the house to keep it out of the 50-foot. So the only thing that would be in the 50-foot buffer would be part of the protective fence. Oh, also we have, we're in a cul-de-sac of 3 houses. We have no homeowners association, and the pool would be partially visible only from one of our neighbors' homes. Our property line touches hers on 2 sides. They touch us on the side and they touch us across the front. And we have a letter of approval from her that we submitted to Angela. Also, we have a letter from the back property owner, the people whose property touches ours behind us, and they're actually a horse farm. So they don't have a house that can see the pool. They just have a piece of land that has horses on it, and we have a letter from her. Unfortunately, we don't really have a relationship with the people across the drive from us, but they have a pool. We don't see any impact to them. They would never be able to see any part of the pool. We just want you to know that this is our forever home. We are only interested in doing things in the best way possible. We've already significantly improved all the erosion and runoff on the property, and we have a very thorough mitigation plan. We've also contacted the Milton Grows Green organization, and we've adopted the stream, and we're going to do water quality testing on it for the city of Milton. And we thank you for your time. Welcome any questions that you may have.
Yes, sir.
When was your home built?
It was built in 2006.
And were you the first and only
Yes.
owners in the home? Okay, that's all.
Is there one driveway and then 3 houses off the one driveway?
Correct. And we actually own about 3/4 of the driveway, and the drive across from it, they have an easement to drive on it.
Yes, sir.
One question, I guess, ma'am, for you, and Chris, I think
Uh-huh.
this, right?
Mhm.
This is gonna be easy, Chris.
Right.
The average size of a pool is typically what?
Anywhere from 600 to 800 square feet
Okay,
for residential, yeah.
so this fits in that
Yes.
average size.
It's about 680 square feet, I believe, with about 1,100 square feet of decking.
And the size, and it may be here, give me the size of the deck,
It is 1,100, and I have it right here. The size of the decking is, it's 1,100 square feet.
and how much concrete are you gonna remove from these?
We're removing 500 square feet of concrete.
So you're essentially adding 600
Correct,
in total square feet, okay,
correct.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Where's your septic field?
Our septic is on the side of the house. If you're looking at the site plan down upon the house, it's actually to the left-hand side. And we obviously, didn't want to mess with any septic in any way, shape, or form. So we're trying to keep out of that.
So any landscaping you're proposing is pretty much staying out of that area?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We're really trying to shore up the buffer from behind the pool area. The first 25 to 30 feet from the creek or from the stream are highly vegetated. You can't even get through it. And then we do have some lawn there now, but our plan was to kind of revegetate and rebuffer the area behind the pool. And anything on the side where there might be any sight lines if anyone's driving by.
And what type of fence are you using?
We currently have a 3-rail horse fence, and we're planning to continue that, but obviously we're going to add the pool-grade wire, all the gates that are compliant with everything that you guys require, and we're going to make sure that the area around the fence is maintained and kept up so any water can flow through that properly.
And how's your overflow going to be handled from the pool? How is that going to be directed?
Well, I believe we're going to use a cartridge system, so correct?
Filter, we won't have
cartridge
any
filters?
backwash. You don't have a sand filter on this pool.
Okay, so there will be no overflow.
Right.
What about when the pool does get overflow?
If it, say the 500-year flood came a few years ago, whenever that was, there is an overflow pipe, that'll be shown on the site plan for the permit.
Okay, and where would that go towards? Would it just go towards the creek or?
Generally out the side, and then into the drainage, wherever we're going to be running the drainage from the yard.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This time we'd like to open the floor for public comment, if there is any.
Yes,
Yes, sir. Come forward and please state your name and address.
my name is Giddens Marlin. I live on lot 522, which is directly in front of the stream, what would be on the west side. It's on the side from who they're talking about. I don't want them or anybody to think I'm against progress. I'm not. But in that particular place there, my house was built there in 60s. I can look you up a date on that. 15255 Birmingham Highway. It was built there in the 60s, and the population of the deer, all of them in there, which is down there on that stream that we're talking about or discussing. If we keep building fences down there, I want to ask my neighbor or anybody else, where are them deer going that comes across? They begin, and I don't want nobody to take my word for it. You can check it out for yourself. My son owns a automobile shop in Woodstock. And I work down there, volunteer some time down there, sometime during the week, 2 or 3 times in a week, maybe 4 times. All right, the deer is, I can pick up on them, the herds. Now, we're talking herds. We're not talking about 1 or 2, okay? And they cross Birmingham Highway there right below my house. They've been doing it ever since the 1960s. But now the population in there is growing and growing and growing with people, and also the wildlife is getting in there in the little creek that we're talking about. It is, as she said, it is a stream covered up, but there's muskrat in there. I've seen them. It has beavers in there. I have seen them. And there is a pile of deer that comes in over from Cherokee County. What's happening over there in Cherokee County is a golf course on Ernie Road. It's been built, 2 to 3 years ago. And the deer is being funneled up over there off of Ernie Road onto Batesfield, and they turn onto Taylor Road, which I live there in front of it. Okay. And any given time during the rutting season of the deer, I have to be careful backing my truck out of my driveway because I'm liable to hit one of them. That is their old-timey route that they come through there. Now, the subdivisions are built up there. They weren't, when at that time, there wasn't any of that. But they was free to roam wherever they did. But they still came through at that path. They are still coming through now. And I don't want anybody to take my word for it. You can pick up over it on Ernie Road if you want to go that early in the morning. I go real early to work. And also, they come through on Batesfield, also on Taylor, like I said. They cross Birmingham Highway there, and then they go down my property. And, of course, I've got some apple trees there, not only myself, but my neighbors has got fruit in there, and they funnel themselves right down there where we're talking about. Okay? If they turn right, there's fences down there at them little deer, and I know a deer can jump, right? And I'm not against deer hunting and all that stuff. But if they turn right, they go run right into a fence down there on the right. If they turn left up against that barrier where he's talking about, they usually now they can cross it. They got no problem jumping it, okay? And they go over in a subdivision, okay? And they disperse themselves. But anyway, if we keep building fences down there on that stream with that wildlife down there, I wish somebody would tell me where they're going to. They do not and will not. I'm not a 30 on wildlife now, don't get me wrong. I'm not. But I know you can't keep on hemming animals up and letting them get, you've got to do something. We've got to do something with the wildlife on that branch. And I don't want no more fences built there to endanger the wildlife. So I'm going to leave it with the council, and I think there's some brilliant people here. And also is my respect to this man too. And I think you're smart enough to know more about it than I do. And I've been in this world about 75 years, but I know one thing. You cannot hem up a bunch of land. If they go and jump that creek, they climb, well, actually, it branches, and they climb the bank over on the other side. There's already a fence up there. But it's farther back if they can get enough of speed to jump the other fence. And they wind up over there in that subdivision now at this time. But now, if it keeps on putting up fences down there, I tell you right now that ain't going to work. Because they're going to come down my yards there. They're going to get hemmed up down there. And I don't know where they're going. The only thing, they can go back up at Birmingham Highway. If they turn left, they can go back to Birmingham Highway, which is that spring feeds that thing. They can go up there and over into the road. they was one. Well, it's no problem for me to go out there and see them get hit in my yard. Now, where they reported to the police or not, I don't know. And whether the county or the state, they should have done years ago. They should have nailed up some signs out there on Birmingham Highway where I hadn't found any. So I'm going to leave it up to the council to do whatever y'all think is right. Thank you very much for listening.
Sir, I have one question. What's your address again, please?
Address?
Yes, sir.
15255 Birmingham Highway.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I live on lot 522.
I got it.
One more question. So you saying your house is across the street from their house?
No, across the creek. Yeah, I'm still on the same side the creek is on.
Okay.
But,
Yeah, I misunderstood. I thought you said across the
yeah.
street. Yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify that.
Okay.
Thank you,
Did it?
sir.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rivers.
At this time, the applicant has the opportunity to make a closing statement or rebuttal if you would so see fit.
Certainly. Would you like to ask a question?
About your fence, how close are you going to keep your fence to the edge of the pool?
That is a good question. I know that we're not going into the 25-foot buffer at all, so, from the, and now I understand where he lives, from the creek up, there's going to be a good 30 feet of area where there's not going to be a fence. And from Birmingham Highway in, there's probably a good 30, 40 feet where there's not going to be a fence.
And on the sides of the pool?
On the sides of the pool, obviously we're going to keep everything within the 150-foot mark where it needs to be. We were hoping, the fence is actually on the site plan.
It doesn't really show just dimensions. So
Okay, well, the fence is approximately 450 linear feet, and of that, approximately 200 linear feet are going to be in the buffer. So less than half of the fence would be in the buffer area.
Does that fence follow the 50-foot undisturbed buffer line, or is it a straight line?
Let me just, if you
Looks
don't,
like on here it actually jogs with the 50-foot.
I'm just going to check this out real quick.
It's straight. It's the X. It's along the X.
I think what you're seeing is the silk fence.
Yeah, what you're seeing is the silt fence. We're actually planning to do a,
So approximately how many feet off of the rear of the pool will the fence be located?
from the site plan, it looks like from the deepest point, it would be approximately 20 feet.
Okay. Running the length of the pool and then coming back up towards the house.
Correct. And one of, like I said before, the first 30 feet, if you're in the creek, stream, whatever it is, looking up, and I brought pictures, are highly vegetated. And then it gets into, and then we have a lawn. So there's almost like a clear mark already of where the 25-foot line is. And we were going to put it at the edge of the lawn.
I've outlined it in red. I hope that that's proper representation of what you've given us. So
Oh, I see it in red? I believe so, yes, sir. Like I said before, our goal has been just to do things in the right way possible. I certainly appreciate your concerns with the deer and with everything else. We're trying to keep as much out of the buffer as possible.
Let me ask another question.
Certainly.
Is this the updated site plan? Did you mention that you were going to have another update?
Well, they asked us to update it if there was a different point from the rested vegetation, but we went back and looked, and that was already done on the first site plan. I think it was just a little misunderstanding with the first site plan, because they didn't see the 25-foot builder line versus a 25-foot stream buffer line, but both are marked on this version of the site plan.
Can I ask staff a question regarding that?
Absolutely.
Angela, are you satisfied that this site plan appropriately references the setbacks for the rest of the vegetation?
Okay, let me ask the applicant. Can you tell me again? I'm sorry.
So right here, I'm gonna look at this one. So on this site plan, which we got from the plat, the stream was, sorry. So on this site plan, the stream is the center line of the property, which is this dark black line. So we got this 25-foot builder line off the plat. Then we came in, which is measured from the center line of the creek, or from the stream. And then they came in 4 feet with this dashy dotty line to represent the stream buffer to account for the rest of vegetation.
Okay.
So this is this line right here, this 25 BL, is from the center line of the stream. And then this line comes in 4 feet from that to account for the rest of vegetation.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Okay.
So I guess that, as far as our referencing this site plan, and approaching,
I have pictures if you want to see how vegetated it is. Like I said, that first 25 feet is very vegetated. You know, I can only stress that we want to do things in the best way possible. We want to preserve the stream. We've been in contact with the city to do, you know, water testing and anything else we need to do. And we will add buffer to that area. You know, that will be good for the wildlife as well.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff? Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Mark, on the landscape plan, they submitted a landscape plan. Are you still asking for another plan to be submitted? More than what they've shown on the landscape mitigation? Because they've got a plan here that was done by, there we go, Autumn Hill.
Yes, I was trying to read some of this a while ago. Here,
I know it doesn't really show sizes. I know cherry laurels are not indicating sizes. And same with the dogwoods. I guess dogwoods, they say 25 to 30 or something.
Our effort was to get as much native vegetation into that area as possible.
and that's what I was going to say, when we review the plans, when pool comes in for permit, that's what we'll be looking for in that stream buffer is native vegetation.
Yeah.
And we have
Mark has certain trees and shrubs like Iliagnus. He does not like.
I gotcha.
I just want to make sure. And there are some
Certainly.
plants that deer love to eat that you probably don't want to plant.
Okay.
And then again, there may be some flowering things you don't want around a pool that attract bees when they're out here at the swimming pool.
Well, but we're happy to abide by whatever landscaping recommendations you have. Absolutely.
So, okay, so I don't want to refer to this plan, Mark. I think the best thing to do is just leave that condition if we do agree to it, saying that they just have to work with you on the landscape plan.
Yeah, we have an extensive list of what they use on native vegetation, so I'm sure she can choose from that list and meet her, what she's trying to do there.
Any other questions of staff? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
At this time, we'd like to close the public hearing. The floor is open for a motion.
If I can, before the motion, Mr. Chairman, I just need to acknowledge that a number of years ago, one of my sons played soccer with the Barfield tribe, so I have known them in years past and permission to accuse you. Should I accuse myself because you played soccer?
Was his son any good?
He was.
I don't think you can tell the truth.
Uh,
Oh, yeah, well, look at that. He was the best on the team, wasn't he?
He was the best keeper on the team.
We need a motion.
Since it is out there, I'm assuming that you are not conflicted. You can render a fair and impartial decision on this. I'm comfortable with that.
Okay, I just wanted to put it out there, just so there's no.
Would you like to make a motion?
I would not.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'd like to go ahead and make a motion for approval. This is for variance 14-007. This is to allow a pool deck and fence to encroach into the 75-foot impervious setback and to allow a pool fence to encroach into the 50-foot stream buffer with the following references and conditions. I'd like to first make sure this is referenced to a site plan prepared by, looks like Neptune Pools, labeled swimming pool site plan for James and Nicole Barfield, dated March 28, 2014. And the conditions are approved per the Barfield site plan dated March 28, 2014, and submit a mitigation plan. And then second, final landscape planting to be approved by the city arborist. Those are my conditions.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
I'd like to make it known, my perspective, regarding the neighbors'
pool deck and fence to encroach in the 75-foot impervious setback, and to allow a pool fence to encroach in the 50-foot stream buffer with the following conditions. Approved per the Barfield site plan dated March 28, 2014, and the submitted mitigation plan and final landscaping plans are approved by the city arborist. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same side. Passed unanimously. Good luck.
Thank you.
Council, I need to depart early. Do I need to officially excuse myself? I can't give him, I need to leave. I have a, Delta's not gonna hold the place for me.
Oh, you can step out. We'll make a note.
Mr. Chairman, goodbye.
Safe travels.
Angela, you want to make a note that Christopher's late?
B14-008, to reduce the front yard setback from 60 feet to 5 feet along the west property line, and to allow an accessory structure, a pavilion in the front yard.
I'm sorry, the request was written incorrectly on that copy. The requested variance is actually to reduce the required roof pitch of a building.
I've got a different 08.
Yeah.
Cover page is one to use this.
B14-008, to reduce the required roof pitch of a building. Angela, will you please present?
Thank you. I fixed it somewhere. The site, 13440 Cogburn Road, is the Milton campus of the St. Francis Day School. The property consists of 43 acres zoned AG1 and is bisected by Cooper Sandy Creek. The campus includes a 42-room academic building, a cafeteria, gymnasium, auditorium, library, track, and several other fields and outbuildings. The school is in the process of building an 8,400 square foot practice gymnasium in the rear of the campus. The applicant, Mr. Buccellato, is asking relief from the requirement to have a roof pitch with a ratio of 8/12. He states that typical gym roof ratios are either 2/12 or 3/12. Further, St. Francis specifically selected this site for the practice gym location because of its unique topographical features and its location with regard to both Cogburn Road and our neighbors. The building site is in a natural depression, which would effectively screen it from the neighbor on their side of Cogburn Road, the neighbors across our property on the other side of Cogburn Road, and from traffic moving in either direction on Cogburn Road. These calculations were based on the centermost point of the gym being between 31 and 34 feet. The zoning requirement would require the highest point of the gymnasium to be above 48 feet, which would then be visible from Cogburn Road. Section 641146 3A requires roof pitches to be 8/12 to 2/12. Since St. Francis is requesting a roof pitch of 2/12 or 3/12, a variance is required. Design Review Board had the following comments from their meeting on May 6, 2014. No problem with the variance request. The building looks good. The board likes the cohesiveness of the architecture with the other buildings. Staff held a focus meeting on May 7, 2014, in which the following comments were provided. Building plan review, site plan review, the arborist, DOT stormwater, all had no comments. And I wanted to back up to the other page. I would like to note that in the northwest overlay, the maximum height of the building can be 30 feet, which I think the applicant shouldn't have a problem meeting. Standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. Relief, if granted, would not offend the spirit of the ordinance, since the character of the building would be in keeping with the ordinance's requirements. Following the strict application of the ordinance would detract from the school's intent to construct a building that would be as unobtrusive as possible. Relief, if granted, would not cause a substantial detriment to the public good and surrounding properties or to public safety, health, and welfare. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following condition. Staff has no conditions at this time. This concludes the staff presentation.
Any questions to the staff from board?
What is the basis for the pitch ratios of 8-12 to 12-12? What is the basis for that? What is the reasoning behind that?
Well, when the Northwest Fulton overlay was written, it wasn't written with, gyms in mind for any other building. They don't want flat roof buildings, basically.
Okay.
And that's the 8/12 is a pretty traditional roof pitch. It's just
So
not.
2 to 12 is steeper or?
It's lower. It's not
Flatter?
flat, but
It's
it's
flatter.
right. It's flatter.
Okay.
Any other questions? This time we'd like to ask the applicant to please come forward and present. State your name and address to the board. We certainly appreciate it, sir. And welcome back.
Well, thank you. My name is Drew Bucciolato. I'm the headmaster at St. Francis. My address is 9375 Willio Road. As Angela stated, the only other thing I would add to that, when we went through our land use permit process, one of the provisions was that we would not build buildings over 40 feet in height. So the reason you end up with some of these situations is basically in a gym you have to stay 25 feet off the court lines in a basketball situation. So when you start out there, it actually starts out at 27 feet on the eve. So if you went up on an 8 to 12 pitch, you end up a bit above 48 feet. Milton also has regulations for barns, and barns, I think, are in Milton around a 3 to 12 pitch. I'm not an architect, but for that gentleman that was asking what would be the difference, this bottom line would be a 2 and 12 pitch, and that top line would be an 8 and 12 pitch. So the differential is about 13 feet. As Angela said, our whole rationale for selecting this particular site was it is in a depression, and you really can't see, you won't be able to see it from the street. That's why we put everything back there right from the beginning.
Any questions from the board?
Yes, sir.
How's school doing?
Very well, thank you.
Glad to hear that. And when do you propose building this building?
Yesterday, we have to. I guess we have to go back to the design review. I think Mr. Buscemi has been very helpful with our design, and I think Taylor Trick, who is our architect and who's designed all the buildings on the campus, has had a good relationship with Mr. Buscemi, so I think they're happy with where we're going with all three buildings. So I guess as soon as we go through design review in June, we'd like to get going.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
As there's no public comment, any questions to staff from the board? At this time, we'd like to close the public hearing. The floor is open for a motion.
I'll make the motion that we approve variance B14-008 to allow the roof pitch of a building to be reduced from 8/12 to 2/12. And I don't see any conditions.
Yeah, there are.
No conditions.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Nancy seconded. Discussion. We have a motion and a second to approve B14-008 to reduce the required roof pitch of a building from 8/12 to 2/12. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign. Passing it. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you for having this great facility in our community.
Yes, and it's good seeing you.
Well, same here. Thank you very much.
Yeah. What is it gonna be?
yard setback from 60 feet to 5 feet along the west property line, and to allow an accessory structure pavilion in the front yard. And council, I need to make a note that I know Mr. Runner on a professional level years ago. I don't think it'll cloud my judgment, but I just want you and the board to know that.
Sounds fine.
So as long as Mr. Runner doesn't want me to recuse myself, I'll stay. Angela, will you please present?
Yes, sir. The site, 13895 Hopewell Road, is a single-family home and horse farm that is being converted into a special events facility. A use permit for this special events facility was approved by the City of Milton Mayor and City Council on January 22nd, 2014. The property, located on approximately 4.62 acres, is zoned AG1. The applicant, Jeffrey Runner, proposes to build a 40 by 80-foot pavilion to be used for wedding ceremonies immediately adjacent to the eastern border of his lot. Mr. Runner also owns the adjacent property. He states that he chose this location for the pavilion because it is already flat and clear of trees. Mr. Runner's property is considered a flag lot. On a flag lot, the front setback is measured from the end of the stem or pole and is drawn parallel to the road. As this is AG1 property, the front setback extends 60 feet from the end of the stem. This setback encompasses the area that Mr. Runner has chosen for his pavilion. Section 64-416B states that the front yard setback for AG1 properties is 60 feet. Since Mr. Runner proposes to reduce his lot setback to 5 feet, a variance is required. Section 64-416-2I states that accessory structures are to be located in the rear or side yard. Since the pavilion will extend past the front of the residence, a variance is required. On May 6, 2014, the DRB offered the following comments. The board likes the timber frame post and beam construction, as well as the backup plan with post and beam with trusses and gable ends. Just concerned with the impact of the reduction of the setback on adjacent property if it were ever to be sold. Staff held a focus meeting on May 7, 2014, at which the following comments were provided. Building plan review, site plan review, arborist, DOT stormwater, all had no comments. The standards for consideration were read earlier, and the applicant responds as follows. These requests did not violate the spirit of any ordinances. The subject parcel sits more than 200 feet off Hopewell Road. This is a horse pasture that has been the subject part between the subject parcel and the road, and it has the same ownership as the subject parcel. Therefore, there is not another party that is going to be impacted by the reduction of the setback or the location of the pavilion in the front yard. If the setback variance is not granted, we will have to locate the pavilion closer to the house, resulting in the removal of numerous beautiful trees. Recommended conditions. Should the board choose to approve the application, staff recommends the following conditions. A hard surface path shall be installed from the house to the pavilion. Roof color, trim, etc. should match the existing house. This concludes the staff presentation.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Yes, sir.
I'm trying to look at the site plan. I'm trying to figure out exactly where this pavilion is. And I guess I can't really read the plan that is in the package. And I think I know where it is, but I don't want to make that assumption.
It's the rectangle on the lower left side of the property. It's right.
Okay.
But
So
It's to the
if
left of the
I came in
house.
the driveway and as soon as the property corner on the north turns, I should look immediately north, and that's the building nearest the property line.
Yes.
All right, so that's the building.
Yep.
Okay. And in reference to where that building is, where's that residential subdivision that joins this project? that on the south side of the property? In other words, if I come in the driveway, it's everything to the right?
I think it's up and to the right.
Yeah, it's all this area to the right and to the east side.
Correct.
And as far as everything on the left side of that property, isn't that all pasture?
Looking at the aerial, yes, this pasture, Mr. Runner owns that.
Okay, so I just want to make sure what we're looking at and what we're referring to this pavilion. And then the main house, I mean, I see the,
Is this the main house back here?
yeah, I guess the house,
The main house is directly
okay.
above the trees, that
Oh,
bunch
is it
of
above
trees.
it, or is it next to it, to the right of it? In other words, if I was in the center of the barn looking, or the pavilion looking north, it's the structure to the right.
Correct.
Okay. And why is, if there's no comment from the staff, then why is there a recommended condition for a hard surface path to be installed from the house to the pavilion? Who's making that recommendation?
Just staff, just so that the visitors won't be walking through mud or whatever to get to the pavilion, and hopefully it will match. There's like a rock path leading from the house to the parking now, and hopefully it'll match that.
Angela, do you know how many feet that is from the house to the pavilion?
I did not measure it, no.
So in other words, it's just something that staff's recommending for erosion issues? Is that kind of what you're saying, so that it's not?
Well, the convenience of the visitors.
And when you say hard surface, if it's chert or something like that?
We're not talking asphalt. I mean, hopefully it would match what's already there.
Okay, because I know like one of the pictures, it shows chert or gravel or one stone, or I guess I'm just trying to understand, because originally it said paved, and then you changed when you read it to hard surface.
Right, I was told paved connotates asphalt, and we weren't looking for asphalt.
Okay.
Any other questions? At this time, we'd like to invite the applicant up for you. Please present. If you state your name and address for the board, we'd certainly appreciate it.
You have the yellow card? Do that when you finish, please.
Thought we were worried about killing trees in Milton. I'm Jeff Runner. I live at 75 Swan Center Drive in Dawson County, but I own the property at 13895 Hopewell Road. We've recently, as Angela said, we've recently got approval to turn this into a wedding facility. It appears to be a much lengthier process than we thought it was going to be, so we're hoping to be up by 2020. We were going to do the pavilion at some point after we got rolling, but considering how long it's taking to get going, we've decided to go ahead and start the process on this and do the pavilion. I share your concern about the hard surface sidewalk. I'm not sure why staff is recommending that or has anything to do with it. We certainly aren't going to put it out there where our clients have, they're walking through mud or whatever, but I'm really concerned about what hard surface means. That seems to be pretty, it was paved. We're not going to asphalt it. That doesn't match anything we have on the property. I've been told it means gravel, it could mean stone. I don't know. I don't know what hard surface means. So I'd like a little, if you're going to make that recommendation, I'd like a little more clarification as to what's going on there. Our plan is to put flat stone like we have around our pool and the other sidewalks in the area, but I'm not sure that qualifies. So other than that, we have two options that we're looking at. One is to buy some old-timey timbers out of some old barns up in the north and make the structure out of that. Our backup plan, if that's not financially feasible, is to do the timbers and then put some sort of a truss system with gabled ends on it. We're thinking we're going to be somewhere in a 612 to maybe a 5 to 612 pitch on the roof. Want it to match the rest of the house and kind of just blend in. Color-wise, it's going to either match, parts of it are going to match the deck and the rest of it's going to match the house.
Any questions to the applicant from the board? Thank you, sir.
stone to chert to, could it be concrete as well?
Concrete, gravel, I mean,
Brick,
that's- mhm.
pavers, so,
Limestone.
but wood crushed stone, okay. So if you get the minutes of our meeting, there's probably gonna be some reference, but if not, you heard it here.
Right.
Okay.
And preferably it would match what's out there, which, you know, I think is flagstone or something like that.
Blackstone's, when it gets wet, it gets slippery.
Yeah.
So I really
That's a
caution,
good point.
is there are some things that work better than others. And if you use a true brick, you can't, because they actually swell when you put them down, and they'll actually break in cold
Which
weather.
is why I didn't, you know,
So-
specify, I'm not the paving expert, so.
No, I know.
Yes, sir.
I have a question on this one, as far as
Yeah.
where, in evaluating this, where is this pavilion physically going to be located?
That's
It's
why I
not
made
clear.
reference, that's why I made,
Yeah.
mentioned that, here it is, it's colored red on this plan.
Oh, on that plan?
Well, I colored it,
Okay.
That's
because
right.
I asked the
It's
question.
the same word there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the text is so small, does it actually say that?
I can't read
But
it.
that's where it is.
It does.
It
says-
does, so if we reference this plan as submitted,
Sure.
it's clear to the city where it's going to be located?
Yeah.
Is there a date on here? It's so shrunk down.
It looks like April 1st, 2014, I guess. Is that what you can read?
Third.
April 3rd?
Where do you see the date?
You got younger eyes.
If anybody has a magnifying glass on their phone, my phone died.
Where is it?
Thank you.
Oh, I can't read that. It's either the second, third, or fourth.
Do you have a
I
magnifying glass?
do see April 3rd, right here.
April 3rd.
It's good, April 3rd.
Does it look like?
Yeah.
You have a magnifying glass on your phone, my phone died, so I can't.
No.
Unless I would have.
Any other questions?
Take a picture and then,
Just make sure that magnify.
No, there's actually an app.
oh.
Yeah, like 2 apps on my phone.
We'll get you all the details.
More questions? Any other questions?
None.
This time, the floor is open for a motion. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna make a motion for approval of V 14-009. This is to reduce the front yard setback from 60 feet to 5 feet along the west property line and to allow an accessory structure in the front yard based on the site plan prepared by Brumbelow and Reese for Jeffrey A. Runner and Sally D. Runner, dated April 3rd, I believe to be 2014. And the conditions that we are adding to the approval is, a hard surface path shall be installed from the house to the pavilion, and then the roof color, trim color, etc. shall match the existing house.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
A second by Todd. Any discussion? We have a motion and a second to approve B 14-009 to reduce the front yard setback from 60 feet to 5 feet along the west property line and to allow an accessory structure in the front yard of pavilion from site plan by Brumbelow and Reese for Jeffrey A. Runner and Sally D. Runner, dated April 3rd, 2014, with the following conditions. A hard surface path shall be installed from the house to the pavilion, and the roof color, trim color, and so on shall match the existing house. All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign, passed unanimously. Congratulations.
You're ahead of schedule.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
done.
and I hope we get to see it after it's
We're-
done.
We're literally 3 to 4 years off. We're doing sprinklers and we've been 9 months getting to this point. So I think realistically, it's 2 to 3, 4 years off.
appeals?
We have none.
Okay. Any old business?
I have none.
Any new business? Yes, sir.
We missed a class, or some of us missed a class on Saturday.
Everybody but Sumit missed a class.
And what do we need to do? The makeup teacher, do we have to write an essay?
It was filmed, and eventually it's going to get put onto the city website, and you all will be able to watch it.
Oh, okay, great. Hold us accountable there.
And there'll be a quiz.
No, I'm glad.
And how long did it take, just so I know?
9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we were out at like 12, so 3 hours.
Did you get lunch? You had lunch?
We're coming up.
Mr. Chair, I finally remembered to bring your award, Board Member of the Year. It was printed.
Oh, my God.
I make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same sign.
Give me that plaque. Give me that plaque.
Do you want these clips? I need to throw them out.
Yeah, I'll
Save the clips.